Hey, and welcome to Unlearning Stress, the podcast where we break the rules and cycles that keep you overcommitted, overstretched, and just plain exhausted, and replace them with something better. No fluff, no guilt, just real talk, real solutions, and expert insights to help you shift the way you live. Whether you're here for the first time or you've been with me for a while, you're in the right place. I'm Mischelle O'Neill, your resident emotional wellness coach, and I'm here to help you unlearn the patterns that are wearing you down so you can live with more ease, clarity, and control. Let's get to it. I really think that it's time that we had this conversation, and let's not hide it anymore. I know that you've felt this before. There's no doubt in my mind. And that buildup that you have in the bottom of your throat, that silent scream that's just rearing to get out. You know, that feeling where you just want to scream. Your knotted fist and your arms crossed, that tightening, when you hold your fist like that, that tightening that's in your body, that scream that you just can't let go because you're so afraid of what would come out. As I just described that to you, if something in you just went silent when I said that, if it stopped, then this is for you. This conversation is for you. And that's exactly why I want to talk to you today. Hi, I'm Mischelle O'Neill. So let me ask you something. And I want you to really think about it. When did you first learn that the way that you naturally are, that you would naturally show out, was too much for most of the people in your life? And come on, raise your hand if that's you, right? And I'm not talking about in a dramatical way. I'm not, nothing crazy like that. But just this slow, steady accumulation of always being corrected, being redirected, and being reprimanded for how you were over and over again, for doing what actually just came naturally to you. I mean, whether it was in your home or in school, you know, later at your job, that you're just too much, too happy, too loud, to whatever it is. Maybe for speaking your mind or responding the way that you responded or feeling the way you felt. My favorite word, unfiltered. And then you were being told, not always with words, right? Sometimes that look, that the way you are is not the right way to be. Yeah. And so you learn to swallow it, to dumb yourself down, as I would say. And I think about two of my grandchildren. My daughter has twins. You know, um, she has 5 children, and two of them are twins. And they could not be more different. And they're not identical twins. And I think even if they were identical twins, they would be different. And one of them is what I call my STEM girl, because she figures things out. She likes to put things together or figure out how to do something. I mean, even as a toddler, she figured out how to break the playpen down and get out of it. And so that's just her. She's got this fix it type of mind, and she pauses. She's quiet, or she comes across as very quiet, but I I can actually see her thinking. And so she pauses before she thinks. She thinks through things. And she takes everything people say so deeply and process it, and she takes it deeply to heart. And you can see that in her eyes. And the other one, she's high functioning autistic. She is so creative. Anything will come out of her mouth. You never know. She's very honest, no filters, and she is just out there. And I love both of them because they are just so different. And I love watching them develop as they learn more and more who they are. And even though, and I'm trying not to say their names, even though the one who's high functioning autistic doesn't worry about what others think about her, the thing is, she's also learning how to regulate herself, not into normalcy, that's not, but into her own strengths. And what we do with the two of them is we look at what each one brings to what I say brings to the table, and we cultivate that. Is where their strengths are, that's where we help them see those things and build on those things and not put themselves down because they're not like the other one. And that's okay. And you know what? I don't recall them wanting to be like the other one. I mean, even to their clothes, when we take clothes over and if they're different colors, if it's a set and they're not the same and they're different colors, we ask them, "What color do you want and what color do you want?" And they choose the color that pulls them. And so I want to ask you something. Do you have a memory of someone in your life who did those things for you, who accepted you for who you are, who built on your strengths and celebrated your strengths, who looked at how you were wired and said, "That's your gift. That's what makes you special. So let's build from there." Or were you just taught to get it together and conform? You need to be like these people. You need to fit in. You need to be like everyone else, right? Because most of us, if we're honest, were taught to conform and we got very good at it, very good at suppressing ourselves. So good that by the time we were grown, we didn't even remember what our natural selves feels like anymore. You just changed over time. And we just knew that we made people uncomfortable when we did show that other side of us. And so we kept that side to ourselves. So here's what I want you to think about. I'm going to call her she, that other side of you. She doesn't show up often, does she? You know, that real, full version of yourself. Not many people know her, or maybe not anybody knows her really. And when she tries to show up, there's this quiet voice that's almost a whisper that says, "Not today. Mm-mm. Not here. This isn't the place. Not now. Mm-mm. They can't deal with it," or you don't want to deal with it. You don't want to deal with that pushback. And sometimes that same voice is so quiet that you can't even hear it anymore. You've gotten good at pushing that voice down and tucking her away and suppressing her, right? And then there are other times that Oh my gosh, that voice is almost screaming at you, "Let me out," so loud that you're tired of trying to push it down and keep it down. And so something in you starts to wonder, how much longer can I keep doing this? How much longer can I hide this part of me? This part that just wants to rise up and say, "Hey, this is me, whether you like it or not. But I'm not going to pretend anymore." How much longer are you going to continue to let these feelings fight to surface? Because that's what it feels like. And so, what do we do instead? We find other ways to release the pressure. Do you find yourself sometimes in certain situations when it rises up that your leg starts bouncing, or you start, maybe you rock, or maybe you self-medicate with food, or maybe scrolling. You just start scrolling through your phone because somehow that gives you something else to focus on. Or maybe sometimes it's that glass of something at the end of a long day. We don't call it self-medicating. We call it unwinding. I'm just unwinding. We call it treating ourselves. I deserve to treat myself. And underneath all of that, something needs to surface. And this was the safest exit that we could find. Tell me, do you do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know this girl? Have you ever been put in a position where you knew what was expected and you felt that resentment rise up in you, and you had a choice right then, right there at that moment? I want you to drop a yes or tell me yes if you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm sure you do. Because I had one of those moments recently, and instead of swallowing it or letting it run the rest of my day or the way I would feel for the rest of the day, I did something different. And as I was sitting there thinking about how I was feeling, and before I let that feeling take over, I started thinking about the situation, and I said, I get to. Did you hear me? Not I have to, not I should, but I get to. And I said it again. I get to. Yeah. Because the first time I kind of had to convince myself, yeah, right, I get to. I really want to do this, right? But the second time, something shifted. And by the time I said it the third time, I felt my shoulders drop and something in my body just released. And it was like, yeah, I get to. And I want to be clear for you here. That's not gratitude. Gratitude is what you feel after. This is something that you choose right in the middle of the resistance, before the feeling changes. You say it before you even believe it. And then something in your body, it catches up. So, what I want you to do is right now, think of something that you may be resentful of. Maybe something while you're sitting there at your desk at work. I want you to think of it. Something that is frustrating you or something you don't want to do. And I want you to say, you know what? I get to. I get to do this. Not I have to, but I get to do this. And I want you to say it again. I get to. One more time with me. Come on. I I get to. And each time you say it, that I get to, did you notice that subtle shift that happened? Not only in your voice, but in your body. Because the difference between I have to and I get to is the difference between feeling like you have no choice in the matter and the difference of taking the power back and make your own choice, deciding in that moment what you're going to do, what you decide to do. And that's something that you've been waiting for a while to feel. I get to because I choose to. Look, here's what I want you to think about. That inner voice doesn't show up often. I'm talking about that full blown version, unfiltered version of you because you've gotten so used to suppressing her. And when it does, it's so quiet, you almost don't hear it anymore. You've gotten that good at ignoring that part of you. And other times it actually feels like it's once again screaming at you. You almost feel like you got to swallow those words. You've ever been there where you feel like you literally have to swallow your words. And the thought of just holding that back, that scream from erupting from the very core of your being, it scares you, doesn't it? That internal struggle that I'm talking about takes so much energy from you. So much that you wonder how much longer that you can keep it up, that you can keep suppressing it. And you know something's got to give. So here's what happens when you keep surrendering yourself. You start to lose the ability to recognize yourself. And there's a gradual takeover, and you become more familiar with how you are now, how you're showing up in your life now versus how you fully are, aligned, undivided, and whole. I think about that. And the phrase that pops in my mind is I just want to be whole again. And that's the hidden cost in all of this because nobody sees it, nobody feels it, nobody is aware of it but you. And nobody recognizes that internal struggle that you wrestle with, not even you. Until you wake up one day and you realize that you're more comfortable in the performed version of yourself than you are in the real, full one. And I know this is This is hard to hear, but here's what I know. That woman that we're talking about, she's still there. And I know that because I have heard it time and time again from the women that I talk to and I coach and I mentor. I hear it. I see it. And there's this deep longing, a certainty that there's more to me, and that conviction that never fully goes away. And I think I want to take a moment to really play that out for you. There was a time in my life when the only way that I felt that I could really articulate myself was through singing. And I've been singing for years, but there was always this part of me that I knew wasn't fully out there. I would hear the music, I would feel the music in my very soul, and I just didn't know how to let it out. And I had many teachers who would say, just let go, let go. And I would say, how? How do, how do I let go? I don't know how to let go. And she still hasn't fully let go yet. And there's some times that I get a glimpse of her. And it's like, where did that come from? Because I did something that I would have never done before. Even briefly, I got a glimpse. And it's when you allow yourself to be truly alone, when the noise stops, when you're not worried about being judged or something being said, when nothing is pulling at you and nothing is being demanded of you, when you finally get quiet enough to hear yourself. Do you know what I'm talking about? I want to ask you, when was the last time you had that kind of quiet? And I'm not talking about sleep or scrolling, but I mean just you alone with yourself, really listening to your thoughts. When was the last time? Because it takes a strong woman, a brave woman to be willing to sit with herself and sit in that quiet and look at her life honestly, objectively, and without flinching and without judgment. And here's what she feels when she first gets there at that space. She feels resistance. Yeah, resistance. Not peace, not relief, but resistance. Because what's in there, what's rising, is unfamiliar. Remember that story I just talked about? When I would let go, remember the words I said? Where did that come from? And unfamiliar feels unsafe, even when it's you. What if I crack? What if it doesn't come out right? What if I'm flat? All these thoughts were in my mind. So here's the real question underneath all of this. And this one's hard. If that part of you is still there, if you can feel that longing, that desire that I'm talking about, if you know that you can no longer stand in this space of angst and that something has got to give now, why can't you just let it go? And I've asked that question of myself. Why can't you just let it go? And I want to share with you the honest answer, right? It's not because you're afraid of what you do or because you're afraid of what others would think, even though you think that's what it is. But there are two fears under all of this. And one is, what if I don't like who I find out I am? Wow. What if you finally meet that full, unfiltered version of yourself and you're disappointed? What if she's less than the idea that you've been holding on to all this time? And the other one is, what if I'm exactly who I feared I was? Wow. Both of those fears do the same thing. They keep you tucked away. They keep you locked in the version that feels safer than the true, full, unfiltered one. Can I share this with you? And I want you to raise your hand and let me know. But you know what? I'm going to anyway. Here's what I know. There is something special and phenomenal about you. I know it. And somewhere deep inside of you, you know it too. You feel it in the depth of your being. And years you've tried to ignore it or say it was just your imagination or it's wishful thinking. And you've never been able to fully express it. I want you to understand this. And this was a realization that I came to. And it was hard. But not everything is to be shared. Not everyone can comprehend you. Some things are just for you. And that's enough. When you finally face that realization, when you finally sit with yourself long enough to see what's actually there, now you have the foundation to build on. Yeah, I said that. It's not a verdict, and it's not even a disappointment. What you have now is a solid foundation and understanding of who you are to work from. And that's when something shifts. Because now you're able to celebrate yourself, to like yourself, to love who you are. Now you learn to rejoice in you. And you begin to fully develop who you're becoming. Did you hear that? Because I want you to get this. This is not the end. It was that unknown that kept you locked, a prisoner in your own house. And the moment you face the truth, your truth, that's when you begin. One of the hardest things that we can do is to take the time to ask ourselves those hard questions. And so I'm encouraging you to come back to this again and again and answer them. Just the few that I've given you here, answer them honestly. And this is just the beginning. When you take the time to look back over your life and really see it, I want you to understand that that right there is your largest mirror to look back over your life. And before I leave you today, I want to ask you one more question. When you look in that mirror and see the reflection of your life, do you know yourself? Or are you a stranger to you? I want to leave you with that thought today. Are you a stranger? And you know what? I want to thank you for sitting here with me, for being here with me, and for having this conversation. I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, I'm Mischelle, and you're here taking a break with me. Take care. Bye-bye. If this episode hits home, don't just push it aside. Lean into it. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And connect with me on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Substack, where we go even deeper. Links will be in the comments. And if you're ready to start unlearning the patterns that keep you stuck, keep listening, because real change happens one choice at a time. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.